mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now.
Hi, my name is Gordon van der Spuy and I'm at the Mission Fly Fishing Magazine headquarters, and today we are going to be tying the skinny damsel, which also happens to be in my book. Okay, so the skinny damsel is a stock standard damselfly nymph pattern that I've been tying for about 20 years. There's nothing new. The main thing is that this thing is skinny. Most people put too much material on the hook shank. You need less than you think you need in most instances. Not always, but in many instances you need far less than you think you need, okay? Now, as a little kid, I would study damselfly nymphs and I'd put them in ice cream buckies, and I would put weeds and things in there and introduce other little creatures into my little environment that I'd created. And I'd just watch these things for hours. And I'd see how they hunted and how they ate these things. And I realized one thing. These things do not move that much. They move, but 90% of the time, they're just hanging around waiting for things. And the reason for that is as follows. These things are ambush predators. If you study a damselfly nymph close, you'll see it's got an articulated jaw, right? Almost like a chameleon's tongue, and it'll shoot out, zap the little thing it's going to eat and shoot it back, which indicates that it's an ambush predator. So these things hang around more often than not. Most guys, when they fish these things, strip them back, whereas they don't really do that. Most of the time they're just hanging around. So fishing this on a floating line with a nice long leader, fine tippet, just drifting it along with the wind, very effective way of fishing a damselfly nymph. I'll often just put myself next to a weed bed and just fish in a place where I know fish are cruising by the whole day. If you do retrieve it, slow figure of 8, interspersed with a couple of pauses, very often as the fly just moves, fish will pounce on it. And yeah, easy to tie, easy to fish, and hell of a effective. Now, you'll notice it's a beautiful fly too. Very often people look at beautiful flies and they go, nah, it's a pretty fly, in a kind of derogatory way. But in this instance, this fly reminds me of my neighbor Karen Lee, who was not only the cleverest girl in school, she was also very hot, okay? So occasionally you get everything, the full package. The astrophysicist who happens to be a swimsuit model as well. And this fly is that. It's hot, highly effective, efficient, and skops gat. For our English viewers, that means it kicks ass. To tie this fly, you need the following. A terrestrial hook. And I like this grip terrestrial hook. It's pretty cool. And it's very versatile. I use it to tie hoppers, damsels, a wide range of things. Stonefly nymphs, blah, 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 blah. For the tail of the fly, some maribou barbs. For the body of the fly, we need Goose biots. And these I got from my friend John Giles at Explorer Fly Fishing. For the wingcase of the fly, we need some Swiss straw. This I got from Hairline. For the thorax, I stub olive brown. I love this stuff. Olive brown, little hints of UV. Mwah. For the legs, we need some CBC. I happen to have some trout hunter here, but Pedijan, just as good. For the eyes, fuck, waar is die ding? Where is this thing? For the eyes, I'm going to use some Maxima Ultra Green, my mono of choice. Okay? And then for the head of the fly, some Superfine dry fly dubbing. So let's tie the fly. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just attach our thread to the hook. I start at the eye, make sure the thread's flat the whole time. You don't want bulk build-up. It is called the skinny damsel, so keep everything thin and tight and compact and economical, more importantly. Okay, so normally with a fly like this, what I'd normally do is I'd lay a thread base, so I've got something to seat materials on. But in this case, I'm not going to do that because my tail is going to be very, very sparse. So I'm literally going to tie the tail in and lay my thread base at the same time. Okay, so just cut that there. Make a wrap or two back over itself. It's important that you tie the material on to thread, not bare hook shank, okay? Otherwise it'll move around. Then I'm going to take a little bit of maribou, a couple of maribou barbs, not many. I'm going to cut them. Okay, when you tie maribou in, this stuff is like very fluffy and it's difficult to control it. So here's an easy trick. Bit of spit there, twist it between thumb and forefinger. Snip it off over there. And now it's easy to work with. Okay? And all I'm going to do to tie it in, I'm going to use a pinch strap like that and just tie it in. And it's important that we tie it in on top of the hook shank. Okay, while we are, I just want to talk about the effects of thread torque. If I had to just wrap this like this, look at what happens to the tail. Okay, it gets pushed over. But if I do the following, make the wrap softly and pull up, make the wrap softly and pull up, make the wrap and pull softly up, notice that doesn't happen, right? So the basic rule is, so the important thing is wherever you want the material to go, in this case we want the material to be tied down onto the hook shank, so we'll pull up, okay? And that applies to eyes when you're tying in eyes for bait fish. If you want the eye to be pushed into the fly, you'll pull towards you. And on the opposite side, you'll pull away from you. Important, how to mitigate or avoid the effects of thread torque on what you're doing. Okay, now all I'm going to do is tie this tail in all the way. Yeah, the whole time, concentrate on keeping this thread coming in flat, okay? To avoid bulk. You don't want to use more thread than you really have to. Okay, and I go right down into the bend of the shank, go a little bit more, making sure that this is coming in flat the whole time. Let's just do that. Okay, important trick here. What you do now is you lift this tail and you tuck a wrap of thread under there and you sort of pull it tight, and what that is going to do is it lifts the tail, but it also avoids this tail from wrapping or anything like that. Okay, next thing, we've got a nice little biot, turkey biot, and that's going to be the body. Important thing, always wet a biot before using it. These things are brittle, they dry. Wet it. I've pre-wet this thing, but yeah, putting it in your mouth works. Now, a lot of people have given me shit about this because they say, no, what if there's chemicals on there, blah, 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 blah. I'm still living, I'm fine, I've been doing this forever. Okay, but if you want to put it in water, go for it. So in this instance, what I've got here is, I've got the convex side of the bite facing me, and you'll see on the left side, there's this little ridge. Okay, I'm going to tie it in with that little ridge on the left side like that. Okay, if that ridge was on the right side, I would then flip the bite over tie it in on the other side and wrap it towards me. Watch the time. So now all I do is I make this bite longer than I need it to be, make a loose wrap, okay, pull it in like this and tighten. Make sure the thread is flat, and I just tie this in all the way to about, yeah. Okay, so a lot of people battle with proportion with this sort of thing, right? So what I like to do is, and I don't do this anymore, but if I was tying this for the first time and I knew I was going to battle, I'd plan the fly out, okay? And how I would do that is I'd use a permanent marker with a very fine tip, and I'd basically mark off where all the parts of the fly need to be. So I'd mark off where the thorax is and where the head section is. Okay, so these markings are to just help you, to show you where all these elements of the fly need to be. So from this marking to this marking, you're going to have the thorax of the fly, and from that marking to the eye of the hook, you're going to have the head of the fly, and the rest is going to be the abdomen. If you do that, and you do that every fly you tie, they're going to all be the same. You're going to be consistent because you're marking it out. So fail to plan, plan to fail. You need to plan the fly out before you tie it. Okay, now all I'm going to do is just very gently wrap this biot. Put it in the hackle plier and just very gently. I'm overlapping these wraps slightly with that dark ridge at the back. We'll take this all the way up to our first mark, and then just tie it in. Couple of tight wraps, okay, and then just cut this off. There we go. Perfect. If you look here, you've got a very natural ribbed effect, number one. There's slight contrast in the body, which is also a cool thing. The other thing is, when you do biot bodies, and I didn't do this because I'm lazy, but if you put a little thin layer of super glue on there before you wrap that biot, you just make the fly far more durable, okay? Next thing we're going to do is take a little bit of Swiss straw, okay, which I've literally cut and folded. Swiss straw is highly underutilized material nowadays. It's basically synthetic raffia, okay? And I'll hold it on the side of the shank closest to me, loose wrap a thread, and just let it slide on top of the hook shank. And then I'll wrap my thread all the way back, and make sure you tie this on top of the hook shank, very important, all the way back to my first marking. It's about over here. Okay, all the way back to my first marking, and there we go. Next I'm going to take some olive and brown UV ice dub, not much, okay, very, very little. I'm going to put that on my thread, distribute it nicely, and then I'm going to just twist it on the thread in one direction, looking from the top in a clockwise direction, because that will make the fly more durable, as the thread is also moving in a clockwise direction as I'm wrapping it. So everything's just tightening up. Okay. Let's see. My glasses are not functioning like they once used to. I don't know, maybe my eyesight from close is getting better, but I find that when I get really close, having the glasses on doesn't help at all. So I take them off and then I look like this. Okay, so we dub that thorax, make sure it's nice and neat. Next step, okay, let the thread just hang there. And what that's going to do is it's going to basically untwist and it's going to be totally flat. Important for what we're going to do next. Okay. Next up, I'm going to use a CDC feather. Okay. And I'm going to just put this in a clip or a clamp like that. Very gently, softly. Bonk. Okay. I'm going to then cut this. So you got it like that. Okay, now, so I put the thread over my fingernail and I basically just put a needle in there. Okay, open it up, put my finger in there like that, and these CDC barbs are going to be the legs of the fly. Put that clip in there, just very gently, and open it up. Okay, just adjust them a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is 90-degree angle, twist clockwise and leave, and you get this bottle brush effect. If you don't have the 90-degree angle, you're going to have cuck, because what's going to happen is that these barbs are going to basically give you more of a yarn-like effect. They're going to wrap up into each other. What you could also do is have a little baby toothbrush and just brush these things out every now and then. I'm lazy, so I'm not going to do it, but it does help. Okay, and now I'm just going to wrap this. Wrap, brush back, 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 and just tie that in like that. Okay. Okay, so look at the nice brush back effect we have with the CDC barbs. The cool thing about the CDC barbs is they move nicely, they're light, and they give the fly a nice dainty feel. And they're delicate. All I'm going to do is separate the barbs on the top, and then I'm going to fold over the Swiss straw. Okay, so just do that, fold it over, and boom, tie it in. 2 wraps is fine. Lift this. Okay, like that. And I've melted these eyes. And I don't know if you want to get a close-up of this. Do you want me to show them how to do this? Okay, so many people ask me how to make cool eyes. This is how you do it. Small piece of mono. Keep that at a 45-degree angle. Okay? I burn it. Let it melt. Okay. Oh shit. Flamethrower. Let it melt. The important thing here, you don't want bubbles in there. So make sure it melts through. And don't put excessive heat. Let the heat come and go. Otherwise, the hackle ply will get too hot and that eye will like melt in a way you don't want it to melt in. Also, when that eye is melting, when you let it dry, you can hold it in a sort of a vertical position like this, and that helps with the shape of the eye. Okay? You do that with the other side, and that's basically how we do eyes. Now, another tip. If I want to make an eye bigger, okay, watch this move. I can melt some, add it, okay, and just, so you can literally add bits of mono, and that letting it dry at a sort of a vertical position, very important. Let it dry, and then do the same thing to the other side. But it's important that you let it dry, right? And then you just repeat that entire process. To tie these eyes in, and this is important, Oaks, the main thing is just get them in. Just get them in. Don't worry about positioning them. What these things will do, and this happens to everyone, when you initially tie them in, boof, they fly, okay? And it's going to frustrate the living ark out of you. So, just get them in. So all I'm going to do is just 2 or 3 wraps. Let's have a look here. 2 or 3 wraps. Just get them in. And then you can, after they're in, you can position them. Give it a couple of figure of 8 wraps. And position them nicely. So don't put a lot of tension on those wraps so that you can move those eyes. These glasses, oh my god. They're just moving everywhere. Okay, so you put a couple of figure of 8 wraps in there. Okay, can you see that? Okay. Now I'm going to dub a head, and I use some Superfine dubbing. I use some Superfine dubbing like this. The main thing with the dubbing now, and this is actually quite a, let me just let this unravel. Get the dubbing parallel to the thread, right? So it's parallel, and then just twist it on like this. And here's a trick I learned from Herman Boertes. Donkey, Harry, donkey. When you're dubbing damsel or dragon eyes, dub around individual eyes, because if you do that, you get a flatter head profile. If you look at the natural, they all have these flat head profiles. If you just figure of 8 that dubbing, you get this super round ass head. So you get a nice flat head profile. Okay. Pull this over. Okay. Tie it in. Now, something I've been doing in the last 2 months is to not finish off at the eye of the hook, but is to bring my thread back over that little piece of Swiss straw over there. Just position it there. Then pull this section over. Tie it down. Okay. And I just whip finish right over there. You can put a drop of super glue on this thread. I do that. Get a needle in there. Just pull, 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 and fuss. Cut it. Okay. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece of Swiss straw here. And that gives me a nice accentuated wing case. Okay. For the tail, never, ever cut maribou. It actually affects the movement of the barbs negatively. What you want to do is you want to be pinching it. And there you have the skinny damsel.